Hola mi gente, MsMalcolmHughes here. Welcome back. Today I'm coming with a book review, and the book that we'll be reviewing is Getting to Happy by Terry McMillan. And this is actually the sequel to Waiting to Exhale. So with that, Getting to Happy is about our four main protagonists from Waiting to Exhale. It's now 14 years later, and we basically get an update on these women and their lives. So let's get into the synopsis. Waiting to Exhale was more than a phenomenal bestseller. It touched a cultural nerve and changed the landscape of African American fiction. Now, 15 years later, the remarkable heroines of Terry McMillan's unforgettable novel are back, each at a crossroads that will define their future. All four are learning to heal past hurts, and they are more determined than ever to reclaim their lives and dreams. They've exhaled, now they are learning to breathe. So it's 15 years later. And I do like the cover. I feel like you can easily identify our main characters based on the last book or based on the movie. So let's give a rundown of the synopsis. We still have Bernadine, who's the one in Waiting to Exhale, whose husband left her and divorced her for another woman who was a secretary and who happens to be white. It's a huge deal. So that will come up again here. We have Savannah, who was the hardworking, independent one, but had a really tough time finding a good man. We had Robin, who was young and free, was younger and more of a free spirit, and had multiple men at her beck and call whenever she desired, but was really hung up on one who wasn't good for her. And then finally we had Gloria, who was the one with the teenage son, and she had been single for a very long time, was focusing on her child and motherhood and her business and career more so than a relationship. But then she gets a next door neighbor who's older, and it's a vibe. They have a connection. So that's kind of where we left our four women before. That was the thing. Everyone left kind of on a happy note with Waiting to Exhale. Bernadine maybe had a potential new boo with the lawyer she met from DC. Savannah had gotten a promotion at work, was really career focused. Robin turned out that she was pregnant and was going to keep it, but she was done with the nonsense men and was focusing on herself. And Gloria opened up a little bit and made room in her life for more than just career and more than just her son. She opened her heart again to love. So Waiting to Exhale ended on a very optimistic note. Now we're here 15 years later, and we have Getting to Happy, which I honestly say it should be Getting to Happy, TOO, because y'all, before I get into it, let me say this. In the introduction here, Terry McMillan talks about the time that she took off between these books, how she had worked on other projects. But these women kind of stuck with her, and they had got on her nerves. So she had to write this and tell their story, and she wanted to know what was up with them again. But they got on her nerves. And I say that because here, it is clear that these women got on her nerves. Because listen, when I tell you that she put them through it, baby, she has put these women through it. For so much of this book, I was pissed off. I was like, why would you do this to them? Waiting to Exhale ended on such an optimistic note. When I say everybody is going through it, every one of our women is going through it in some of the worst ways. And I'm gonna pause here for those of you who haven't read this book, didn't know it existed, loved Waiting to Exhale, and now want to go read it. This will be a spoiler video. This will be a spoiler review. Sometimes I'm less willing to give spoilers, with this one, in order for y'all to feel my full frustration, I have to give you spoilers. So just be aware. Now let's continue. So let's go over what's happening with our ladies in the last 14 years. our girl Bernadine, right? At the end, she has this potential future with what's seemingly going to be like a great guy, this lawyer from DC. Ciao. This man turned out to be a whole scam artist, is not a lawyer, lied. He has, like, some woman calls someone that he has an entire other family. He's married to someone in another state. His name isn't even his name, okay? They call him on three-way. He's like, Bernie is lying. She just stalker. Listen, crazy. Like, he done used up all her money on this fake business. It's a lot. It is a lot. And you feel so bad for Bernadine, because it was like, dang, she just went through an entire divorce in the first book, had her husband leave her for another woman. Now she's opening up her heart, trying to trust again, and she dates this fool who is a narcissistic scam artist who's lying and has used her and manipulated the entire situation. What? I was so done and I was so hurt. Later on, we'll get to if I felt the same way by the end of the book, but we'll stop for there right now. Move on to our next character. So then we have Robin. Robin kept her baby. She now has a very young and opinionated teenager who is a great character, right? Really helped Robin mature and grow up. She hasn't really opened herself up to relationships, but she stayed in shape. She's doing well professionally at first. But then life-shifting things happen. She gets laid off. But she was already thinking about making a career shift, and it hurts, but it is what it is. She knows that she can pivot. And then during that time, she gets back in touch with a dude from way back when. They run into each other at the gym, and they have a connection. So we'll see how that goes. Give you the final conclusions on these things at the end. All right, next, moving on to our good girlfriend Savannah. Career wise, is completely dominating. She's now getting her own show. She's killing it. Romantically, she's also gotten married during this time. She's gotten married to a guy she met at church. They were happy for some years. Then it turned out they weren't. They were no longer compatible. Like, they were forcing it. She was no longer happy. And then one day when he's away on a work trip, she goes into his room looking for something. Her computer crashes. She needs to use his, and it's just so much porn. And he has been having cyber sex with different women, a whole thing. So they end up getting a divorce. I'm telling you, she took these women's happiness and just turned it upside down. Okay, this is the one though. This one right here, between Bernadine and Gloria, Terry McMillan and I almost had a very big problem. So we have Gloria, who's been happily married to her neighbor for years. They live together, beautiful. They have a family, grandkids. They have this whole entire life they built. They have plans, they have a future, all of it, right? Every year they do the same thing for their anniversary, and on this day it is their anniversary. And he's off at a plant store getting her plants for the garden. They plant new ones every year. He's murdered in a drive-by shooting. This book right here just had me sitting there like, why are you doing this to them? And then I was talking to a friend about it, and I really had to think, right? So let's take it one by one. Bernadine. The question was, well, did Bernadine heal herself after the divorce? Did she spend some time going to therapy? Did she really reflect? Did she really grow? These are questions that my friend posed to me, and I was like, well, no, she didn't. So then it makes sense that, okay, yeah, she just hopped back into something else because it seemed perfect, but she hadn't healed. She hadn't figured out what drew her to her first husband and the way that he treated her and how everything panned out. So yeah, it makes sense that you would then go and fall for another man who is not who you believed him to be. Didn't want to accept that, but it was valid and it's true. Unless you've healed and done that internal work on yourself, you meet people where you are, not where you have a desire to be, right? So it then makes sense that she would choose someone else who was not trustworthy and end up in a horrible situation. It's unfortunate, but all of this eventually forced her to do the self-work, to go to therapy because she had a pill dependency, to go to rehab, and she really got better. At least seemingly so. She's kind of back on track with her career, thinking about what the next phase of that will be. Her and her ex-husband John are in a really good place. And you know, karma comes back around. No matter how long you try to fight it, karma is patient and will come back around. So, you know, put good energy into the world. So eventually, you know, his wife is like, I don't want to be here. She leaves him, moves to another country with another man. Is like, yeah, but I'm not taking our daughter, so you can deal with that. I don't know if y'all watched The Manny, but not The Manny. I don't know if y'all watched This Is Us, but Kevin plays on the show The Manny, and I was like, Manny say what? And I've been saying that lately. It's stuck in my head. So it was just one of those, like, Manny say what? Crazy. But it allows everyone to grow and evolve, and John issues that apology and lets Bernadine know that it wasn't really about her, it was about him and where he was at. And it's beautiful to see that evolution. It's great. So even though Terry McMillan frustrated me so much with how she ripped apart the lives of these women, that's real. Okay? In the words of Lauren London, life will chin check all of us, and trust me firsthand, I know. Okay? You can have this whole plan out. Okay? Listen, in a lot of different ways, life will come. Life will come to challenge you. Life will come and take things from you. Life will come. But how do you navigate it, and how do you continue to persevere and go and grow? So I love that for Bernadine. Next up, good sis Robin. Robin's out here trying to be open again. Her daughter done made her some online accounts so she can date. So she's trying. I kind of jumped ahead with Robin earlier, but let's fill in some of those gaps. So she's trying. She then takes over the online account. She's going on dates. She runs into her ex, who's the father of her baby, of her daughter, who just got out of jail. Runs into him at a Starbucks, but thankfully for her, she's mature, she's grown, she's actually there waiting on a date. And so it's nothing. It doesn't faze her in that way. She's beyond that. Thankfully, she knows she deserves better. But now he wants to be in their daughter's life. Whole other issue. But eventually, like I said, well, actually, Robin gets stood up. Dude doesn't come. She calls him. It turns out that he was lying. He got a whole other life. Okay? Be careful online. It can be tricky. People be lying. Y'all know about catfishes. And worse than catfishes, he just didn't show up and he was just a liar. So eventually she runs back into her old boo, who she really wasn't given the time of day, but he was a good dude. He's now in shape. He is all the things she would want in a partner. He still has that great characteristic that she loved, but now he's in shape. He's lost weight. Apparently during the time they was apart, he'd been with other women and his game is better, right? So now they're really hitting it off, and she ends up with a very happy ending, and they get married. And she actually proposes to him, and he's like, oh my God, I've been waiting my whole life for you. I've always wanted you since I first met you. But yeah, right? And it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. We love that for her. She deserved that. We all deserve love and romance, and she deserved that. So I'm glad that she got it. All right, next we have, who do I want to go to next? Savannah. So we have Savannah, again, career-wise, is going really well. She went on a blind date that she wasn't really open to right before she was getting ready to go on a trip to Paris to be with herself, to regather herself, figure out who she is after this divorce, right? So she meets this guy, no expectations, but it's a good energy exchange. They're kind of on the same page, no pressure, right? We don't even have to call this a date. Just two people hanging out, seeing what will happen. But he actually ends up being dope. She ends up being dope. At the end of this book, devastatingly, we have Katrina. That's where the timing that this is. So she decides that she's going to go to Katrina and cover it, and he's actually there doing work on the ground. So she's like, when I go, yeah, I think I'm going to meet up with him. I think I'll give that a second date and see where that goes. So that is a really optimistic note. Again, Terry McMillan does a really good job of ending books with optimism. All right, so then finally we have our good girlfriend, our good sis, Gloria, who again went through it in this book, right? You lose the love of your life after so much time by yourself. You finally let yourself be open, and you've had so many good years together that in the end you have to be grateful, even though it's horrible and devastating and so sad. And we watch her son go through it with his wife, okay, who been thotting and bopping in these streets. So, you know, tragedies on tragedies, but there are glimmers and possibilities of light. She pivots her business. She ends up going into a partnership with one of her long-term beauticians in her shop, and she's turning it into a spa, and it's becoming everything she desired. She was able to go onto the boat that she had bought for her husband that he never got to step foot on. And though there are no like possibilities for like romance, she does like eventually take off her wedding ring, turns it into a pendant, and goes into a toy store and buys herself something. And we see that she, even though they're older now, right, they're like 50 plus, even though they're all older, she hasn't let go of the possibility of love and romance for herself and getting back in touch with her full womanhood. And I love that for her. So in the end, even though Terry McMillan made me so upset with the like just upturn of these women's lives after all that time, I still loved reading about them. Her style of writing, again, very comfortable and familial, and you just feel like exactly what it is. You're catching up with some good girlfriends that you haven't spoken to in a while, and you love to see the growth and development of their lives, how things have turned out, how they are still evolving and growing, and watching it all come together. It was beautiful, and I enjoyed it. And once I got over the fact that I was upset and realized that things like this happen, unfortunately, life is challenging and hard, and none of us escape it without going through tribulations. So the thing to like learn and really pay attention to here is, how do they grow and evolve, and how do they adapt, right? So really loved this book, love the style of writing. Savannah still rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. You know, life had been hard, she was a little bitter, but she checked that, she worked on that, and that sometimes happens, right? Feelings are feelings. They come, they go, and not who's to say they're not justified. We all feel different ranges of emotions at different times. I love that growth and development. Overall, really enjoyed this book. If I was to give it a scale of read now, read when you have time, or read if you want, I would definitely say this is a read when you have time, right? If you are a huge Wait and Exhale fan, then maybe you'll want to bump that up and go get it right away. If you didn't know that it existed and you want to know what happened to those ladies, I liked them. But it was an enjoyable read, a quick read as well, not too long at all, and just light. And sometimes you need lightness, so definitely worth checking out. And that's it for me, y'all. Today, that is my review. As always, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. Until the next one, please remember to give time, to be kind to each other, and to have the best day of your life on purpose. Till the next one, peace, odabo, adios, ciao.